Autocross week is quickly approaching. Today we are going to do a few things to the car to make it a little bit more reliable, and we are going to do some hackery to the engine fan to make it work with the EEC-V ECU, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. I got Autocross week coming up quick, and there's a few things that I need to do to the car to get it kind of dialed in and be reliable. One of those things that I don't think I ever really mentioned in any of the other earlier videos when I was doing the EEC-V swap is the engine fan. It's not able to run off of the EEC-V. That one does a PWM output, and the SN95 fan is just done by relay, so just an on-off relay. So what I've been doing for the however long it's been since I did that swap is just I had a switch in there, so I just would, whenever you ground the switch, it would turn on the fan relay. So I just had a switch in there, and it's actually been hit by some riders that I had, so it turned the fan off. So I've actually overheated the car at the last Autocross, which kind of sucks. So I need to get that kind of fixed. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the fan controller that is from like the Crown Vic car and kind of made it up to work in the SN95. So that sounds easy. It's not as easy as I was hoping. For one, you can't just put the engine fan from a Crown Vic in there because it is quite large and does not quite fit and line up. I mean, I could maybe do some things to try to get it to fit, but it's quite large and larger than the radiator that's in there, and so that just would not give ideal cooling. I'd have to probably try to cut this up quite a bit to make it actually fit. But the fan that comes in the car is quite suitable for what I need to keep it cool. So I'm actually surrounded by a whole bunch of engine fans that I have. So over here is one from like a Taurus. I have another one over here. I think this one's from a Volvo, and I got some other ones sitting over here. So I have quite a bit of fans to kind of choose from. But I would like to just, what I was trying to see if I could do was take the motor out of the Crown Vic one and put it into the SN95 one. But it doesn't quite work out. So here's the SN95 one. It doesn't quite work out too well for how the fan connects. This ones have a different, so this is actually the motor that's out of the SN95 one. So you can see that the mounting is quite different. This one's long and has this little piece in there to help hold it, where this one has this ring that kind of goes flush with the fan blade to help when it turns to not have any slippage. So that doesn't quite work. Another difference that you'll notice between this Crown Vic one and the SN95 one is this one has wire leads coming out of it, where this one is just a plug. So that also then makes it not so easy to mount up to the controller, because I would then need to get the plug. So here's the controller. So I would then need to get the plug, like splice some wires, which is possible to, just run a little harness from here to the fan. But what I'm doing instead is, this is the fan motor out of the Taurus fan. It had flying leads on it. So I just snipped off the plug and putting on the leads for the plug for this guy. So it was just some kind of standard TE plugs, I think they were, or something like that. Found them on Ballinger Motorsports. Really love that site. That site is great for finding all kinds of connectors and terminals and a whole bunch of other things that is really useful. So I took the plug off of the Crown Vic one, so I have this plug right over here. So I have the plug. I now have new terminals on there, so I can plug it all up. And then I have just flying leads for this side, which I will then wire in just 3 wires. So power, ground, and then signal. So I will pull that out of the constant control relay module thing, whatever that's on the SN95s. So I'll pull out the wires for that and get some just power, ground, and the signal going to that. So that's pretty easy. I can then remove this whole connector for my engine fan. Don't need that anymore. Coming out of the Taurus fan is 3 wires. So I need to try to figure out which ones are what. So obviously the black one is ground, but then I have a brown and orange one and a brown and yellow one. So we will hook these up to power and figure out which ones are which. I'm assuming that one is a low speed, one's a high speed. But looking at the wire gauge, the brown and yellow one is a larger gauge than the brown and orange one. So that one is pretty much right there, assumed to be the high speed one. But we'll hook this up to power real quick and see if we can tell a difference in how much air is moving. All right, so we got this connected up to jump box. So we'll go to the brown and orange one first, which I believe is the low speed. Now to the brown and yellow one. So, yeah. So yeah, that's easy to tell that that is that's high speed, and the brown and orange one is low speed, kind of as we expected. So it doesn't really, I'm only going to wire up the high speed one. The low speed one we don't really need. This controller is like a variable fan controller basically, so it sends a PWM signal into there and will then control the output. It's nice because it will be kind of able to do like a soft start, stop kind of thing, so we're not doing a shock to the electrical system. So that will be really good, and then it'll be able to, you know, vary the speed from low up to high, because as you saw in the Crown Vic 1 motor, it's just 2 wires. That's all that it needs, just go from any speed that you want. So that will make it easy. I could also, which would be kind of nice, but I'm not going to do it right now, I could wire this up to just a switch. So then I could force on like low speed if I wanted to for any reason. I'm not going to do that right now. Maybe in the future, we will see. But right now I will just kind of tie this off in this harness and keep it kind of out of the way. This controller, I've already zip tied it on here, so I can't really show it too well, but you can kind of see it a little bit in there. It has fins on there, so it's got aluminum body and fins, so that kind of tells me that it could potentially get hot, and it needs to be air cooled, and it was air cooled in the Crown Vic one. It sat right in here and was cooled by the air coming through the fan and radiator. So I wanted to make sure that I'm following that same thing, and I just wired it right there. I mean, I could have cut a hole in here, and I mean, maybe I'll do that another time, but right now the overflow and relay module all sit right here, so I don't know how much room I actually had in there, but zip tie it right there. That's not going to impact my airflow at all, and it will keep that guy nice and cool, which it clearly needs to be done that way. And then we'll need to put on my plug. I'll zip tie and secure this cable to there, and we can get everything back installed into the car. As far as the wiring, so I will just, for ground, that one's really easy. I'm just gonna, when I cut this guy off, I will use the ground wire that's in here and be able to get a ground that way. As far as power, this black and orange wire, there's 2 of them that come in. Those were the ones that powered the engine fan, so I will pull those ones out, and I will splice that into this power guy. So then I have power coming from the same source for the engine fan. So it will be the 60 amp or something that's over in the relay box. So power will be coming all from the same place as factory, and it will be exactly what we need. So if there was ever an issue, it's easy to trace down what fuse and everything is that it gets its power from. We're getting close to not really even needing this guy. Really, at this point, all this thing is doing is distributing power to like the ECU and a few other things, and then doing the fuel pump. The fuel pump relay is really easy to remove out of this circuit and run it somewhere else. This also had like AC, which we don't have anymore. So this relay module really is probably going to go away at some point, I think. But for right now, for making just a nice clean factory wiring, I kept it in there. But we will get this stuff all wired up to spliced into this guy, and we will have hopefully a working engine fan here very shortly. It's not buttoned up yet. I just kind of did a quick test to make sure that we are getting airflow. We are getting, the fan is on, which is pretty awesome. It's not heated up, but it's already blowing some air out of there. So I'm not quite sure why. I figured it should have been off at the start and then kind of kick on, but we are getting airflow, so that is good. It means that it is wired up at least mostly correct. So now I can take this all back out, get that all buttoned up correctly, heat shrunk, and get the stuff on there. All right, the test was successful. Started up, the engine fan came on. So all the wiring is good. I haven't really ran it much longer than that quick little startup to make sure that it is ramping up and things like that. I will do that. Everything is now buttoned up, got everything heat shrunk and taped up and protected. One thing that I forgot to kind of mention is looking at these the motors. They're all similar mount, all these motors that I have. So it kind of tells me that they probably come from maybe a similar manufacturer or something like that. They don't really have too much. Like this one says Siemens. This one doesn't say anything on it, but they're all this triangle mount. Just some of them have studs, some of them have holes. So that's why I was kind of able to easily switch the motors in between the different fan shrouds and things like that. But they do have different kinds of blades, like I was mentioning. Like the one has the little T in there that it hangs onto, while the other one has like little nipples or something. So engine fan is done. The next thing on the list is headlights. I still have stock headlights in there, the bulbs I'm talking about, and they're just terrible. I'm hoping to not do any night driving, but there is the possibility of doing night driving, and I want to be able to see. So we are going to change out the headlight bulbs in the car. We got some LED ones from Lays Fit. So these are just plug and play to go in the car. So it's got a little pigtail, but just plug and play, goes right in there. I actually have lace fits on the truck, on the Duramax, and I love them. They are super bright and are great for nighttime driving. I actually used the coupon code from Foxcast, which I'm sure a lot of you guys probably watch that channel as well. So if you just put in Foxcast, F-O-X-C-A-S-T, you get a percentage off. I don't remember how much it was, maybe like 10 or so off, but any discount is good. So going to get these put into the car and we can see out the difference real quick. That is a huge difference. If it's really capturing it on the video, I don't know. It doesn't really look like it is too well, but this one is quite yellow. This one is nice, bright, and white. So that is going to be excellent for nighttime driving. So I just need to get this one changed out, and all of that is pretty much done at this point. One thing to note with these have like a little fan in them, so they do make a little bit of noise, but once the car's running, you're not going to hear it. But there is a little bit of a fan noise in there, and you want to make sure that it is clear from any obstructions, that it gets a good airflow to keep those LEDs nice and cool. Only things left really to do for the Autocross week prep is just, I'm going to do like a nut bolt check. I am going to change the alignment a little bit since I have to do so much street driving. I am going to pretty much zero up the toe. Right now I run a little bit of toe out. That's not going to be good for street driving. It's going to make the car wander and kind of wear the tires. So I'm going to put them at 0 toe for that. I don't think it will affect the Autocross too much, but I want to make sure that the car drives down the street because we got 500 miles that we need to do. I want to make sure that it just drives good. So, but we're going to nut bolt check everything, change up the alignment a little bit, and I think she's good to go. I'm hoping. I am a little nervous about this. I have never really driven the car more, than maybe like 30 or so miles. So I am feeling really anxious and nervous about this trip. But I'm trying to do everything that I can. I wanted to be able to drive the car a little bit more, do some taking it to work and things like that, just to get a little bit more hours and comfort under my belt. Yeah, it's a big task. And then I also have to drive the truck and trailer, up there 8 hours. So just feeling really nervous about all of it. I'm trying to just go through everything just to make sure that everything is tip-top as much as it can be at the moment. Just as important as prepping the car as the tools that we bring along. So Ashley actually got this for my birthday. So this is air compressor, like a handheld one, but it uses DeWalt batteries, which is pretty awesome because DeWalt does not actually make a little handheld like this. Their air compressor is pretty large. So this is a lot easier to pack into the car. So DeWalt, maybe you should make one of these. This thing's pretty sweet. So yeah, it uses DeWalt batteries, which I have several of them. It has a little display on the back where you set the pressure to, and then you just put it on the tire, hit the trigger, and it will pressurize to what you have it set to. And I just checked it, so the tires were at 25 and I bumped them up to 34. It took maybe a minute or so to get them to that pressure, and then I checked it with my pressure gauge here and it was close. So I had it set to 34.0. I read 34.6 on this guy. So I'd rather it be a little bit over anyways than under, but it's getting pretty close, and then I can dial it in with my normal pressure gauge that I use for Autocross. So this thing is gonna be sweet. I was trying to figure out what I was gonna do for Autocross. A lot of times when I'm going, there's just 2-day events and I just bring an air tank and I could fill it up. But this is gonna be a week-long event. So having this little air gun is gonna be awesome. I can pump up the pressures after each event and not worry about kind of wearing out the tires by driving on low pressure or anything like that. So, very good buy. Thank you, Ashley, for my birthday. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you later. Autocross week videos coming up very shortly.